everybody. I'm Jenny Wilder. I'm the rector here at St. Anne's, and I want to talk with you a little bit about this thing called Widening the Welcome. Widening the Welcome extends beyond parishioners. It extends into our neighborhood. It extends into those folks who just drive by, right? And I want to show you a couple of things. You know, I think about church all the time. I think about it because I'm surrounded by the building. I think about it because this is where I've been called to serve. And I just have some ideas I want to share with you and get your thoughts on it. The first thing I want to talk about in the widening of the welcome happens here in our parking lot. Now, believe it or not, in 2018 going into 2019 into 2020, we were thinking about how can we extend our parking lot because we had so many people parking on the grass right off of Fairlawn. It'll be a while before we have to worry about that again, but one of the things I think about is this is a beautiful place, and even in the winter or the late fall, our Peace Meadow is a beautiful place for people to sit and be. So I was thinking, what would it mean for St. Anne's to take one or two of our spots here and add in electric vehicle charging stations? Electric vehicle charging stations is an offer of hospitality to people who are committed to caring for the environment. And on this side of town, there's really not that many available for folks. And if we were to go in that direction, we would use a system that would do it by reservation. And if someone came to charge their vehicle, they would actually pay for the electricity they are using, so we don't lose anything in the deal. We just offer some hospitality to people who have electric vehicles. Another element of widening the welcome would be to take a look at our disabled parking spaces and think about it from a disabled person's point of view. If it's raining, or if it's snowing, or if there's inclement weather, and you've got to get out of the car and get the wheelchair or the walker or get your loved one settled into whatever mechanism it is that they use to get about in, you know, that can be something that would deter some to come to church or to come to their meeting or to come and be a part of the hospitality. So another way we can widen the welcome would be to cover our disabled parking spaces so that when a person comes who's disabled or has a loved one who's disabled, they don't have to worry about the weather. They can just pull in and know that they are covered in many things, including love and hospitality. Another thing I want to talk about is this is the walkway that goes from the disabled parking up to the church. And it's got some hills in it, it's got some divots in it, it's got some broken pavement in it. And so widening the welcome would mean that we could pull up this sidewalk and put a new one down that's level and also covered. And in that covered sidewalk, we would also have lights, because beyond these two lights here and a light over each door, there's no light shining on this path whatsoever. And at nighttime, especially right now in the wintertime, nighttime happens at about 6 o'clock. This would widen the welcome and make people feel safe in their walk and covered from the elements. This playground. Now, this playground was used as part of the child care back in the day. And I don't think much has happened since it was initially installed. A couple of things here. First of all, technology and new playgrounds are much safer than what we currently have in place. And underneath this playground equipment is nothing but hard ground and a little bit of mulch. Even with our swing sets, there's nothing there. And that's a safety issue, right? If a kid falls, they're going to hit the ground hard, whereas more contemporary playgrounds have a better padded system underneath their playground equipment. So one of the things, and also this is the only park that's in walking distance to our neighbors who live in the apartments down the street. And I would feel much better welcoming them to an updated playground than I do to this playground. So, and also for our members, we have a bunch of kids right now, and I'm grateful for them, but I also want them to feel safe when they come to church, and especially when they come to play. So I'm wondering if we could include perhaps thinking about our playground when we consider how can St. Anne's widen the welcome. Okay, so now I'm looking out at the church from the parking lot, and something that's been brought to my attention a couple of times, and you can't help but see it right now, is that the health of our trees outside on the front lawn is something that we need to consider. Because right now, we've got some massive branches that have fallen, and so far we've been very lucky that these have not hit any vehicles or have come down on anybody when they've fallen. So one of the ways that we can show outwardly to our community that we are indeed a healthy community is that we can pay attention to our trees. We can see if they are healthy, and if they're not healthy, then we can either address how to make them healthier, or perhaps remove the trees that are unhealthy and plant new ones. And when we plant new ones, perhaps we can make sure that we're planting trees that increase food and protection for pollinators. Because I really believe that we need to address the health of our trees and to take care of creation by making our front lawn an outward and visible sign of health. I can tell you right now that as of right now, we have 7 spaces left, and that's it. And at least 3 of those have been spoken for. I believe a 4th one is about to be reserved later after Christmas. So out of 7 spots, 4 have been taken. It's time for us to start thinking about how do we want to widen the welcome to others who might want to call St. Anne's their final resting place. I have some ideas, maybe you do too, but I think now would be the right time for us to consider exploring options for increasing and widening our welcome to those who would like to call St. Anne's their final resting place. So this is the restroom that's off of the narthex. It doesn't get used much, and when we were doing our renovation project in 2018, this restroom was slated to be transitioned into a wheelchair accessible restroom and a unisex restroom. But as it is, we didn't have the money to do that part, so it has remained pretty much unused. But what kind of welcome would we be able to offer someone who may be identified as non-binary or transgender, or someone who is in a wheelchair and needs to use the restroom as soon as they come in? Since this is right off the narthex, this would be an easier place for them to get to than down the ramp and into the other restrooms. But as it is, this is an unused space, and it could easily be transformed into a unisex restroom that would also be handicap accessible. I can tell you, as someone who identifies as non-binary, the welcome that would mean to someone like me would be huge. So I wouldn't have to second guess which restroom, or if I'm going to get asked to leave whatever restroom that I'm using. That is an excellent way of living into our baptism, of respecting the dignity of every human being, and also widening the welcome to our neighbors, both internal and external. So I'm outside the office right now on the back parking lot, and I want to talk about what people see when they first drive up to St. Anne's if they're parking in the back parking lot. Well, what they see is this hill on both sides of our stairs that is dying. It's juniper, and at the moment it's dead, and it's only dying more and more with each day that passes, and it doesn't send a very good message. It sends a message that we're unhealthy, that we don't pay attention to caretaking for the world around us. And I'm wondering, how could we transition the message of unhealthy to healthy? I think one of the ways that we could do that would be plucking up what needs to be plucked up, getting rid of what is dead and dying and making room for new life. And I'm wondering also is if we choose to put something else out here, could we go in the direction that would help our pollinators, providing flowers that bees and butterflies enjoy and help them create help us create a safe place for them to be as they move about and have their being. But as it is right now, this sends a really bad message to people who are arriving at St. Anne's for the very first time. It says we're sick, we're unhealthy, and we don't care. When I know in my heart of hearts that that is the complete opposite of who we are as a congregation. Okay, so I am driving down Fairlawn. Just made a right off of Ransom Road. So this is our road as we're going down. Lots and lots of speed cushions. I can see the church from here. I can see the church parking lot from here. And believe it or not, there's a sign that would tell people that they are approaching St. Anne's. And it'd be great if you could see the sign, right? But I can't see it. I don't know if you can see it, but I can't see it. And if you're coming here for the first time and you say, I know it's coming up somewhere, but where is it? Well, you can't see it because it's, I can't do that. It's flush with the road, right? You can't see it because it's not sticking out where a driver can see it. It is flat with the road. And here's another thing I want to tell you about. That's our sign right there. That's our St. Anne's sign. That's on the corner of Oakland and Fairlawn. It's the one that gets seen. But what kind of message is it sending out if our service times are wrong and our website is wrong and the signposts are rotting and the paint is all splotchy? It does not say to them, we're ready to welcome you. It says, we're not really quite sure what we're doing, but if you want to take a risk, come on inside. So I just want you to know that, I don't know where to look on my phone. I just want to tell you that these are some of the ideas about widening the welcome. It's things that maybe you don't think about, but when I approach the building, when I think about what says welcome before a person ever walks through the doors, because we know how to welcome people when they arrive here. But now we need to think about how can we welcome people as they approach the building, as they make their way to St. Anne's for the first time. And how do we welcome people who may not ever step foot into our building, but still know that our outward message of welcome and health and well-being matches our internal health and well-being. So these are some thoughts that I have, and I would welcome your ideas, your thoughts, your feedback. It's important for us to have this conversation now. I know that we're in the middle of this pandemic and there's no telling when we're going to get to the other side, but there's no better time than now to really address some of these issues, so that if and when we make it to the other side of this COVID-19 mess, that we're not playing catch up. Instead, we have taken the time to thoughtfully prepare to welcome. Thank you for listening. I look forward to our conversation.